Welcome to week 12 of the F.I.R.E travel series. I created this series prior to us traveling to Europe for 3 months. If you're new to my channel, my name is Jake. My wife and I retired from our 9-to-5 job by investing into real estate and the stock market so that we could achieve financial independence. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. In week 12, we woke up really early and flew from Hamburg to Austin, Texas. After spending a 4-hour layover in London, we arrived in Austin. At this point, you can only imagine how tired we are. Traveling with a 4-year-old across the ocean and in Europe for almost 2.5 months is definitely going to be something that we will need to recharge from. Thankfully, the weather in Austin is a nice 60 degrees. 100-ish or something like that, I guess. So yeah, it's pretty hot in Austin in the summer. So we are going to get our things ready so that we can make our way to Utah. If you don't already know, we have a house here in Austin and we rent a place up in northern Utah where I grew up. So the rest of the week is going to be getting things situated and ready for us to make the drive up to Utah, but more on that in next week's video. I'm excited to share that this video is presented by Snowball Analytics. Snowball Analytics is a tool that I use to analyze my dividend portfolio. You can check them out with the link in the description below and use promo code DGI to get the very best pricing. Maria asked the question, I find myself hesitating due to the share prices of many of the individual stocks. With some of them costing several $100s, it feels tough to justify the purchase when I'm making small incremental deposits to my brokerage account. Psychologically, I tend to fall back on buying SHD and DJRO since their share prices are lower. My probably narrow logic is that owning more shares leads to more dividends. Rationally, I know that $1 invested is still $1 invested regardless of share count. But when I look at the numbers, it's hard to shake that mindset. Do you have any tips for breaking out of that kind of thinking? Well, Maria, I'll start with saying that you're not alone when it comes to this. Many people, myself included, were stumped by this. And, it takes rewiring your brain to wrap your head around it. So I guess the first thing that I would say is maybe there's a different brokerage that you could consider so that you can invest with fractional shares. Most brokerages offer fractional share investing nowadays, so at least here in the US. So the root of your issue here is overcoming your mindset when looking at how your portfolio will compound. The best tip I can give you is something that has helped me understand this, and that is to visualize it. So to help us visualize this, let's pull up a compound interest calculator. So a simple compound interest calculator will work. So let's imagine, for example, that we have one account in portfolio A, and portfolio A has a basket of different stocks, ETFs, different investments from all different shapes and sizes, but totals in $10,000. And let's assume that over the next 30 years, this portfolio just sits there and compounds at an 8% annual return. 8%. You don't add any new money to it. So portfolio A is going to grow from 10,000 to 100,000 in 30 years. Now let's take the exact same example, but look at portfolio B. Now portfolio B has different investments in it, different share sizes, different number of shares. But this portfolio, it starts off with $5,000, and over the next 30 years, this $5,000 will grow to $50,000. Now, it's important to understand that share count is irrelevant, and you acknowledge that in your question that $1 invested is $1 invested. Now, the shares don't matter in this context. It's only the dollars that we're looking at because the dollars are what are compounding and not the shares. At least that's how you want to visualize it. Now, the question is, you got these two portfolios, portfolio A and portfolio B. Portfolio A has 10,000 or had 10,000, now has 100,000. Portfolio B has 50,000. Let's see if how the compounding works had you had two separate portfolios or if you would have had one portfolio to begin with. So in order to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to take 5313.28. So we're going to take the value of portfolio B and we're going to combine it with portfolio A. So portfolio A, 626.57. Okay, so of these two portfolios, that are completely separate, have maybe different investments in them altogether. So the total value of both of these portfolios is just over $150,000. So you got portfolio A and you got portfolio B. Well, how does that work if you would have just had 15,000, which is a larger amount, in one account, right? Because the root of your issue, your challenge, is your bigger numbers compound faster, right? Well, that's actually not how it works. Small numbers can compound just as fast if they're in multiple accounts. What really matters is not the amount of accounts, but the amount of dollars invested in total. So if we look at portfolio C that had $15,000 over 30 years, this portfolio will grow to $150,000, the exact same amount as portfolio A and B combined. So all this really does is it just shows us and helps our brains to understand and to visualize how compounding works. But I can assure you that whether you have, one account or 5 accounts, if the sum of all of those accounts are in 1 account or in 5 accounts, the compounding will work the same, assuming that the growth rate, which is the 8% here, this is what determines it. This is what determines the growth, regardless of how many accounts the money is split up into. Another way that I like to visualize this to help my brain to understand and comprehend compound interest, if we take a percentage increase calculator, let's say we take the value of 1, and we compare that with the value of 2, if we calculate that, you're going to see 100% increase. Now the time frame doesn't matter, we're just looking at the percentage increase. So 1 to 2 is 100%. Well, what if we do 0 and we do 0? So 10 and 20, if we calculate that, oh, it's still the same. Well, what if we do 100? What if we do 200? Well, that is still the same. What if we did, for example, 111 and for example, 222, well, the same is going to apply this way. So it doesn't matter if you have 1 portfolio, if you have 2 portfolios, all that matters is the amount invested and the percentage that amount is growing by, okay? So that's how I do it. Maybe this is not perfect in explaining it. I'm not a mathematician, but this is how I visualize it to help me understand how compounding works, especially when looking at, smaller brokerage sizes. If I have 1 brokerage or if I split them, across multiple brokerages, how does that affect compounding? And so I hope by visualizing this, it helps you to understand it a little bit better. But yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you haven't already, go check out Snowball Analytics, and thank you so much for watching, and I'll see everybody in next week's video.